morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Friday, the 13th day of September, year of our Lord 2019. Welcome to the John Moore Show. We begin our shows with something very important. That would be the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The preparative of the day, I want to make sure that you encourage and make sure all your team members have a wind-up wristwatch, self-winding wristwatch, no battery. Very important. It's hard to coordinate anything you're doing without a timepiece, and a wind-up self-winding wristwatch is really the way to go. EMP won't bother it, and doesn't need a battery. Okay, Friday the 13th, before we get to our special guest, it's been my lucky day forever. On the Friday the 13th, my high school football team won its 13th game in a row, 13-12. So, and of course, I was on the field when that was taking place and helping my team to victory. So I've always regarded Friday the 13th as a very lucky day for me. We have a patient waiting in the green room, my friend Tom Berryhill. Tom is a gentleman who began a quest more than half a century ago to become very knowledgeable in anything and everything to do with radio frequency engineering, ham radio, electronics, and related items, to the point where he's become quite expert and is called in as an outside vendor. When companies get in trouble and they need somebody with his expertise, they pick up the phone, they call Tom Berryhill. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, John. Good morning. And one quick comment. Where do you even find a self-winding wristwatch anymore? I'd love to buy one.
Amazon.com.
That's where everything comes from.
Well, that's...
okay.
I'm working on getting... I did have them listed on my website under my Amazon products, but I just found out this morning my Amazon products are down, but we'll get them back up in a day or so. But there's lots of choices from $20 or $25 to a Rolex like I wear, which is pretty pricey, but it's the best. So Amazon.com. Yep.
Okay, great, John. I don't think I'll buy a Rolex, but maybe something in between. I would really like to have one.
Well, in the $200 to $300 range, you get something that is very durable, very tough, and will look good on your wrist. Absolutely.
Yes, and it's very important when we talk about communications, emergency communications, but if you can't coordinate with the other stations for schedules, you can always pick the operating frequencies, but if we have to set up a time and everybody has to be at a certain frequency at a certain time, that's very important.
It is. And in the modern age, I've noticed that what we call millennials rarely wear a wristwatch, and a lot of even older folks have discontinued wearing a wristwatch because there's a clock built into their cell phone, which they always have with them. It's remember the World War II movies where everybody sets their wristwatch to the same time so they can coordinate their attack on the enemy. That's not make-believe. That's real. Having your timepiece in a tactical situation is not optional, is it, Tom?
No, not optional. It's very important. And, John, under maybe EMP-type conditions where there's been equipment failures and damage, I keep some tube radio equipment handy. In fact, some of my favorite ham radio equipment has tubes in it. There's no solid-state components, so hopefully that equipment would survive an EMP attack. And along with a self-winding wristwatch, I hope I'd be all set.
Yeah, I think you would be. It wouldn't hurt. These things you can get them so inexpensively. Might as well get a couple for backup. We got a call on hold here already. We've got Jerry in Texas. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning, John and Tom. There's exceptions to the rule on wristwatches. I kill every wristwatch that I wear. They just quit working. It don't matter if it's self-winding. wind up or battery powered. I guess the longest ones lasted me is maybe 6 months. Now I can take them off and lay them on a dresser. They'll start running. But I've yet to find a decent pocket watch, but they seem to do better for me than anything else. Any suggestions?
Right. Well, I've known people that have the electrical energy in their body disrupts the battery-powered watch. I've never heard that with a mechanical watch. It's difficult to find a pocket watches any more than a $20 trinket these days, is what I'm seeing out there. I really haven't looked. Tom, you got any input on that?
Well, background noise there, Jerry. Turn off your microphone for a minute if you can.
I think he's breathing into the mic there, yeah.
He's
out of breath.
He's running out of that chicken coop.
Yeah.
He's got a... that's better. That's better.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of input on it, but I just wonder, John, sometimes if it's not a shock issue, maybe, Jerry runs a farm there, and he might, farmers are always out there working on something, hammering in fence posts, hammering things on the side of the barn, and I'm just wondering if it's a shock issue. Then I've heard of people that have issues for whatever reason that electrical items don't work well with them. Right. And I'm wondering sometimes the people that have trouble with the energy cleaner, the very small percentage of people that it doesn't help, I wonder if they're the same ones that have wristwatch problems.
Well, it's hard to say.
A spring watch, a wind-up watch, of course, you can't, you can't hardly find a decent one anymore, if at all, except order them. But I could, they'd quit working, and I could lay them up on a dresser. In a couple of days, they'd start running again. I put them on, and on Sunday, going to worship services and what have you, and they'd quit running. So it wasn't a shock issue necessarily of, it's just me and my magnetic personality, I guess. I don't know how, but it's always been a dilemma. Matter of fact, they used to make a couple of watch in Dallas. This was back in the 80s. That had that little battery that they put in pacemakers, and it all stainless steel case and wristband and the whole deal. And I said, well, maybe that'll solve my problem. I put that on, and I killed it in 3 or 4 months. So God forbid if I ever need a pacemaker.
Well,
I'm serious,
Well, I know, Jerry. I've known guys with some problems like that. Some of the GIs in Vietnam, they would remove their wristwatch from their wrist and run the strap through a buttonhole of their shirt, and let the wristwatch hang from the buttonhole of their shirt. Now, if that may be something that would get it, far enough away from there's something about your electromagnetic energy in your body that doesn't like wristwatches don't like. And I'm here at Amazon. They've got over 3,000 results under mechanical watches for men, and they range from $22 to $7,000. So a lot of choices there.
Yeah, maybe I need to get me a GoFundMe to get one of those good, expensive watches, huh? Okay, well, I'll let you get back to emergency communication, but I thought I'd throw that up, and somebody out there listening may have a solution to my dilemma. A pocket watch seems to work a little bit longer, but I don't know. Maybe I need to get a good heavy leather pouch and hang it on my belt and see if that don't work. But anyway, I'll let you get back. I want to listen about radio. Y'all have a good weekend.
Oh, okay, thank you. Well, I just clicked on pocket watches, and entry level is looks like about $19. And most of these I would regard as trinkets because the most expensive one I'm seeing is around $35. So these are just, and here's one for $14. So I wouldn't regard these pocket watches as anything high quality. They look nice, they're beautiful, but you're not going to get much of a pocket watch for $18 or $19 or $35. Getting back to communications, Tom, something we don't talk about very much is hardwire field phones, which are very secure, not terribly expensive. The modern ones, the current issue, which I have a few of them, they don't even have a place to put batteries anymore. The ones we had in Vietnam and earlier, they took D as in Delta D cell batteries. But the modern ones don't even have a place to put batteries. And that's something people need to be aware of and possibly incorporate into what they do, don't they, Tom?
Yeah, that's true. And there's all types of phones like that, John, that could be set up. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, we did a presentation at your group there in Viburnum, Missouri, and I drew a schematic right on the whiteboard. I drew a schematic of how to set up a field phone like that. You can build one very, very easily using old-style telephone handsets. You need a relay because the coil of the relay acts as what's called a choke. So when you connect the battery, you could run this thing off of a car battery or anything. You would need a battery, and there's a reason I like the battery-powered ones. I'll tell you that in a minute. But with the relay, anytime somebody picks up or uses a signaling button, you'd have to have a button to do the signaling. But if that button is pushed, that energizes the system, and then that can signal the person at the other end. There's all different ways to set this up, but it's called a common talk intercom, and you can hook multiple handsets on there. But the relay coil that senses current draw, when you activate the system, those relay contacts pull in. You can use that for signaling at either end, but that coil also acts as a choke, and it keeps the audio from your microphone and the earpiece. It keeps all of that on the communications line, and it prevents the battery from shorting that out or grounding it, or just making that signal go away, diminished quite a bit, and the battery will shunt that signal. So that's an audio choke, and that prevents that from happening, although it does let DC power travel through there. So it serves two purposes, that relay. Kind of easy to set up. The reason I like the battery-powered ones are very low impedance, and this means that your interference from outside signals will be less. If you have a very long running line, you don't want a super high impedance, which I think the voice operated ones where you need no batteries at all, I believe those operate at a higher impedance. They would almost have to work properly, and I really believe those would be susceptible to interference from other nearby sources. For instance, if somebody had an HT and they were transmitting, that signal I don't believe it would be demodulated or picked up by that phone line, but it would perhaps put enough RF energy on that line to actually make it to where your intercom circuit would be unintelligible. You wouldn't be able to use it while that person was using that other radio equipment. Whereas the low impedance system I'm describing, using a battery, would run all the time and would pretty much ignore that radio signal. I've set them up, and I've seen the interference from other systems happen. And by the way, John, years ago, back in the 1970s, I worked on intercom systems quite a bit, sound systems, and some of these large factories would have common talk intercoms, exactly what we're talking about here, and they would have that talk button or the page button. When you push that button, it would connect the telephone circuit into a paging amplifier, and they had speaker horns all over the plant. And they usually had two channels. They had a red light and a green light, and they would might get on there and say, a plant manager, red channel or something like that. And he'd pick up the nearest intercom phone, and then they would talk they'd put the switch over to the red light, and then they would be able to talk on that circuit. And that's how it worked. It was very simple, but it was very, very effective. and very few problems with those things other than cut wires once in a while, or a mouse would chew on a wire and tear it up. But other than that, those things really work very well. They're quite simple and easy to maintain.
That reminds me, I was helping a friend. He was attempting to get a contract with Anheuser-Busch in St. Louis. I don't know if it's the world's largest brewery, but it has to be close to the world's largest brewery. And to help him out, I spent a week of my life going through every part of that plant, from the dirtiest, nastiest, noisiest part to the CEO's office, doing audio testing and making notes of the audio levels in every room of one of the world's largest breweries. It was quite an experience that week I spent doing that. There's a lot to this. What we're talking about, this communications, wireless, hardwire. One of the big advantages of hardwire, of course, is it's completely secure. There's no way it can be intercepted, and that may be something quite important at some point in the future, couldn't it?
Very true. That's very true. And they're so simple to set up. There's even ways to drive a ground rod in the ground and set up the equipment and just run a single strand of wire to the remote intercom unit, telephone handset, and drive another ground rod in the ground there and just talk on one wire. You can hook multiple headsets onto that one wire. Now that only works as good as the grounding side of it. If the ground conductivity isn't that good in that particular area, it might not work as well. But usually, if you're not talking over a very long distance, a circuit like that would work pretty good. So there's a single piece of wire that can be used.
Hold that thought, Tom. We got a break. Call number is 800-313-9443.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms, or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356, or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Friday. It is Friday the 13th, my lucky day. And my website is thelibertyman.com. Even GIs in combat get a break. We called it R&R. And in this case, R&R is going to be a cruise. It's going to be a cruise on a Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines with myself and Leon Green. A fun R&R, a romantic R&R if you choose it to be. We'll be leaving Florida the 9th day of February, returning a week later. Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, Harmony of the Seas. I found out recently there's 20 restaurants on this ship. 20 restaurants. This is a luxury resort on the water, is what it is. I was initially calling it a luxury hotel, but luxury hotels, I've been to a few of them, they don't have 20 restaurants. It's a luxury resort on the ocean. Details at my website at thelibertyman.com. If you don't have internet access, you want to get a nice full-color brochure, give our cruise director a call, Betsy Murphy. Her telephone, here it is, 636-530-9502. I say again, 636-530-9502. I just verified, by the way, that my Amazon products are up and running there at thelibertyman.com, including the mechanical watches. And let's see, that would probably be under related, oh, here we go, at the very bottom, mechanical self-winding wristwatches. So we'll click on that and see what comes up here. All kinds of things will probably come up. It takes a while for this stuff to load. But there's lots of choices there, from entry level to the Rolexes and everything in between. There they are. You got the Rolexes. There's one for $33,000. And then we go down to the less expensive watches. There's a nice Timex one for women for $35 and so forth. So lots of choices there. Tom, getting back to the field phones, military surplus field phone wire comes in quarter-mile spools and 1-mile spools. I have an inventory of each. If and when the time comes, I can set up a community telephone system here in our little community with a switchboard, and we will be able to communicate with each other as necessary, very reliably and very privately with our own proprietary telephone system. Hopefully we won't need that, but if we do, we'll start running wire and get it all set up, and people can talk to each other privately and securely with no interference. People need to look at all the options, don't they, sir?
Oh, that's very true, John. And yeah, I like that. Like that approach that you've taken with the intercom switchboard. That's really a good way to go. The common talk circuit that I described will work quite well. It's silent. Nobody can listen in on anybody else that's on that circuit until they pick up the handset. Those aren't hard to make. If somebody wanted to build one from scratch, if they have some electronics knowledge, it's very, very simple. And that wire you have, how many conductors is it? 2 or 3 or?
It's a 2-pair. It's a 2-pair with black plastic insulation, and we found out.
So it's 2 pairs. There's
one
individual wires. One pair. Okay.
1 pair, and we found out that it is not completely resistant to ultraviolet. After about 15 years of exposure to ultraviolet, it will start breaking down. Of course, our military planners never planned on a war lasting 15 years, so I guess that wasn't too much of an issue, was it?
No, it wasn't. I would imagine those things were deployed and used, and then when they moved on to another location, they just cut the wire and left it behind.
Absolutely. And in the locals get a hold of it, and they use it for clotheslines and to repair their ox carts and build houses with.
Whatever gets the job done, I suppose.
Well,
that wire is very handy to have. You know, John, that could be used to build dipole antennas. That same type of wire could be used for that.
Well, during the Tet Offensive, we had a young man. He did housekeeping for us, and his family home was destroyed, and we took up a collection to build a new home, slightly larger and slightly better than what he had. It cost $300 to build a complete home to replace the one that was burned down during the Tet Offensive. And I don't know if he made use of any camel wire there or not, but there was lots of camel wire around during the Vietnam War, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, that would come in handy for a lot of different things. But for somebody to build an HF dipole antenna, that type of wire would work just fine unless you're running many kilowatts of power. Some small gauge wire like that would allow you to put that antenna pretty quick.
This steel wire, camel wire, is difficult to work with. It's a tough wire to work with, but it can be done. Here's our break right now.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Friday, the 13th day of September. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. Now, smartphone compatible. That was a challenge, not for me, but for my webmaster, Tim Spencer. I wouldn't have a clue how to do this. Lots of things there. A beautiful, massive cave for sale. You might want to check that out if you're interested in 40 acres with a cave that goes back more than a mile, big enough to put a really big structure inside there. It's a massive, massive cave. Of course, my latest DVD is there. The Heavens Are Shaking. When I was in Cincinnati a few months back with Clyde Lewis, Pastor Paul Begley, the sponsor, my friend Stephen Ben Noon. It's a great 4-DVD set, a lot of information there. Also, of course, my website, you'll find energy cleaners. We had our Legion meeting last night. One of our Legion members came limping in, really severe limp, and I said, "What happened? Did you drop something on your foot?" He says, "No, John, I got arthritis in my hip." Well, if you got arthritis pain, you need an energy cleaner. You really do. You need an energy cleaner. You got back pain, joint pain, you need an energy cleaner. Or you're not sleeping well, that takes in a huge percentage of Americans. You need an energy cleaner. $285 shipping included to American zip codes. I'm taking delivery of a largest delivery of mattress pads this coming Monday I've ever received. I got back orders waiting to be processed, so I'll get those mattress pads reconfigured Monday, and the back orders will be shipped out Tuesday. If you're listening, you're waiting for a back order, that's when everything gets shipped, will be Tuesday. I'll be really, really busy reconfiguring mattress pads all afternoon, Monday afternoon. Check out the details at my website where you can place your order using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You can send me a check. My address is there. You can call my toll-free hour line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Visiting with Tom Berryhill. We're talking about emergency survival communications, and what we frequently talk about is a beginning point, and a beginning point is going to the ARRL website, isn't it, Tom?
That's the place to start, John. The American Radio Relay League, they've been around for a long, long time, around 100 years plus, and they have information that will assist anybody at an entry level all the way up to some very sophisticated, high-end engineering publications. If you're interested in the technical side of things, they have everything you'll ever need, and many large corporations have an engineering department will have American Radio Relay League publications on their bookshelves because the electrical engineers will refer to them quite often for that information. So all the way from entry level to the highest levels of engineering are available from that organization.
That's right. And we got regional conventions coming up. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, September 27, 28th. West Fargo, North Dakota, September 28th. San Ramon, California, October 18th, 19th, and 20th. East Ridge, Tennessee, October 18th and 19th. And, of course, this website is ARRL, that's Alpha Romeo Romeo Lima.org, Alpha Romeo Romeo Lima.org. It is the portal, the entry point, the beginning step to having a lot of fun and learning skills that would very possibly save lives, right, Tom?
That's right, and it's a good place to start. Any of the conventions have a lot of good information there. You'll meet people that can help you learn more about it, point you in the right direction, and best of all, try to help you from making the mistakes that they all made themselves getting started. So that's one of the things the hams try to do is help you get started without spending a lot of money, costly mistakes. It happens to all of us, John, but these ladies and gentlemen will help you to eliminate many of those from the start.
Absolutely. Well, the time to begin is now. I keep talking about this 13-month time frame. I don't know that anything's going to happen in 13 months. I do know that there's a lot of concern on the part of men and women who are have very high level of confidential access to classified information, including up to and including the White House. I know that for a fact, that very high level people are very concerned about what could commence in 13 months. 13 months is more than enough time to learn about ham radio, get a license, get some basic equipment that doesn't cost a whole lot of money, and be able to communicate with friends and loved ones in time of emergency, be able to monitor the emergency frequencies in an effective manner, and put that all together as part of an overall program to be properly prepared for a long time or even a short-term emergency, right, Tom?
Yeah, that's right, John, and that gives you enough time to get started, get your technician license that would get you started. That's the entry level, and then advance to general class or extra class. Gives you more on-the-air privileges with extra bands, and I think the most important thing is to get to the point where you have the ability to communicate on the HF bands or the shortwave spectrum. That will give you the widest coverage all the way to worldwide from your ham radio station. And one more comment on that wire you have, John. You said it's steel wire that's used for the communications with the intercom, the handsets, the field phones. And
right.
That wire being steel would be very rugged, and you said hard to work with, but I really think that could be used for making dipole antennas because of it being steel, it's a lot sturdier than any copper wire. And as a matter of fact, there was a type of wire called copper weld, and that is copper-coated. It's a heavy copper coating, and it's a steel cord wire that's very, very strong, and it is harder to work with, to bend and twist and so on. But the copper plating on there allows it to be soldered very easily, and that has always been a go-to product for the ham operators over the decades to build these types of antennas. I've used regular THHN insulated stranded wire for my antennas. I just put up another one, John, by the way, and it's a multi-band, well, all-band actually. The antenna is over 200. It's about 250 feet long. I can describe its construction if anybody wanted to try this. It's really the way to go, I think, for a easy to build and easy to put up antenna that will give you some pretty good communications range. But that wire you have would be excellent for something like that. I've also used electric fence wire to build antennas because it's very strong, but again, hard to work with but it does work pretty good. And a lot of the people will say that, well, it has too much resistance. And I don't believe that, and it's always worked good for me. But this recent antenna that I put up was built with 12-gauge PHHN stranded insulated wire, regular electrical wiring that you can buy at any Home Depot or Lowe's.
Well, during Vietnam, we had men making phone calls back to the United States that were on the Vietnam end were initiated with a World War II type field phone, that steel wire that we're talking about, going to the next stop and then eventually making its way to a Mars station in the United States. I can't imagine those conversations being very clear, very easy to understand, but they did take place. What can be done when human beings are determined to accomplish something can be quite awesome, can't it?
Oh, yeah, very much so. And, you know, when all that was taking place, John, that was one of the best sunspot cycles ever for communications. And I was able to communicate worldwide with a little transmitter that I built. I still have it. And it's a small circuit board, not much bigger than a business card, and it used 2 transistors, and it ran 2 watts of power. Now, this was on Morse code, but I have the QSL card from a station I talked to in Manila, Philippines in 1968 with that transmitter, and he gave me a very good signal report, and this was a dipole antenna on 21 megahertz. That's the 15-meter band with 2 watts of power. And that gentleman could hear me. I remember him telling me I sounded as loud as a station down the street. So that doesn't always happen. Sometimes the signals are pretty weak, but in that case, the signals were propagation was excellent, worldwide, and it was a pretty exciting time for ham radio. Nowadays, the conditions aren't quite as good, but even with 100 watts of power and a dipole antenna, it is quite possible to talk to stations worldwide. You don't always need a big tower with Yagi and beam antennas and all that. I've never used those except for a quad antenna I built back in the late 60s, but I've always used dipole antennas, long wire antennas, just wires strung up in trees, and mobile antennas on cars and pickup trucks, all on HF bands, and it's worked quite well. So simple sometimes works just perfect for what you want to do. You don't need some big, extensive tower system, although it's nice to have if you have the money and the property to do it, and you're allowed to do it. A lot of homeowner associations have restrictions that prohibit that. There's always ways to get around that, though, with invisible wire antennas. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is possible to build an antenna in the attic of your home. What would unused space, it may or may not be room to stand up, but people do conceal antennas inside attics, don't they?
They do, and I've done that very thing. When I lived in St. Louis County, I had no external antennas that were visible. I did have a smaller version of what I just put up in the attic of the home, and I worked all bands from 160 meters all the way through 10 meters, and even some 6-meter work with that antenna. It worked quite well, and talked to people all over the world.
When I lived in St. Louis County, I had an antenna array about 3 stories up in a massive oak tree. Everything worked fine and when the leaves were off the trees, but during the warm weather, when the leaves are on the trees, that cut down the capability of the antenna tremendously. And some guys, they'll use a slingshot or a bow and arrow to shoot a line up high over a tree, and then pull the antenna wire with that monofilament line up real high, won't they?
Well, that works really, really well, and that's what I did to put up the system that I have, John. I took I built a wooden platform, and I have a Zebco fishing reel on there with monofilament line, a casting, I don't know the exact type, but you push the button and the line is released, and you can cast it out and reel it back in. And what I do, I have a slingshot mounted on the end of that thing, so it's all one unit that you can hold, and there's a reinforcement that goes on your forearm, and then you just aim that thing, and I shoot a lug nut. I take a piece of orange surveyor's tape and tie it through that lug nut so I can find it, and then I release push the button on the fishing reel to release that monofilament line, and I have a high test. I think it's about 10 or 12 pounds strength line in there, and I shoot that up over the tallest tree, and then I find that tape on the other side, and then I tie on a piece of heavier nylon twine or line onto that, and I reel that in and pull that back up over the tree, and I use that to pull the wire antenna up with the insulator, and I tie that off at the base of the tree or onto a low-lying limb that I can get to and adjust the tension and everything later. But that's what I use to actually support the antenna. So it's a two-step process, and I do that at the other end. And then in the middle is the center insulator that supports the transmission line. That's how I do it, and I've always built antennas that way. They're very simple, and they work very well. But you do need an antenna tuner, though.
Well, that's these are simple things. We're talking any great expense here. Simple things to accomplish goals in a very effective way, right, Tom?
That's right, and I don't use coaxial cable, John. The only piece of coax I have is from the transceiver to the antenna tuner or the antenna coupler. It can be described either way, and that is about maybe 3 feet at the most. And I use what's called open wire line, or you can use ladder line or window ladder line. Anyway, it's almost like the old flat 300 ohm twin lead that was used for television antennas in the old days. And in fact, you can use 300 ohm twin lead wire for these types of antennas if you're not running a lot of power. That would work fine at the 100 watt level. But if they're spaced out a little bit more with the open wire line, it works a lot better. Mine are spaced out 4 inches, and I made the spacers out of Teflon rods that I bought from McMaster Carr. Used a drill press and a router table to put notches in the end, and the wires thread through there, and then they're secured every foot or so, and that spreads those wires out. I use solid THHN wire for that, and so it looks like a ladder. You can imagine 2 wires spaced apart about 4 inches, and then these spacers every foot. It looks like some sort of a miniature ladder. But with a line like that, you have very low loss. It's really difficult to use an antenna tuner when you have a coaxial cable going from the antenna tuner to the antenna. That is meant to be work with a specific antenna impedance of 50 ohms, and you're not going to have that if you want to build a wideband antenna that covers the entire shortwave spectrum, all of the shortwave hand bands. It's best to use an open wire ladder line type of feed line, and they, by the way, are very, very low loss. Matter of fact, I saw a chart recently that showed with a little bit wider spacing than I'm using, with a 10 gauge wire and spaced out. It may have been 10-inch spacing. I don't remember exactly, but with 1,000 feet of that transmission line at 10 megahertz, the actual decibels of loss was less than 1/4 of a decibel. That's almost negligible. That's a very low loss, and that means all of your power is delivered to that antenna. Now, that won't be the case with a coax.
We got a break.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Republic Broadcasting Network depends on listener support of our advertisers and of our sponsors. We'd like to especially thank all of you who have taken advantage of our fundraiser with FrontSight Bonus. Those who are now FrontSight members, please train as soon as possible for your sake and for that of our nation. And please consider sharing your training and what you've learned when you arrive home. Republic Broadcasting Network has to stop promoting this fundraiser on air and on the website in just a few days. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, president of FrontSight, made a gracious exception to his no media rule for us at Republic Broadcasting Network. Thank you, Dr. Piazza. And once you've been to FrontSight, feel free to call your favorite host and share your experience on the air. We can continue this fundraiser without media help, but it'll be totally up to the listeners to spread the information. Please call Dan Sutterfield in Missouri at 573-465-2356, 573-465-2356. That's 573-465-2356.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Friday, the 13th day of September. What time we every week we educate, we inform, we nudge people along. And I don't expect we get a huge percentage of people, but we get some percentage of people. And every individual that gets involved in ham radio makes our country stronger, doesn't it, Tom?
It really does, John. And if we ever had a lights-out situation, an EMP blast, the ham radio operators would be the only ones with the skills out there that would be able to get radio equipment on the air and supply communications in their community on a local, regional, and national basis, and international if required. They would be the ones. And, of course, anybody listening that's not interested in ham radio, they should at least, at a minimum, obtain a shortwave radio and scanner equipment that for the scanners, they should be able to listen to the at least P25 digital transmissions that so many of the law enforcement agencies have gone to. So they want to be able to pick up those various digital modes, with P25 being one of the most popular. And then regular FM, regular narrowband FM, the scanner will do that as well. That's important. Find out what frequencies are in use in your area. That's very, very important. So that gives you some information on a local basis. And then a shortwave radio that's capable of single sideband operation will allow you to listen to international broadcasts, and sometimes we get the most truthful information from non-domestic sources. So foreign broadcast stations on shortwave would give us the truth, whereas maybe some of our controlled media sources inside our country would not tell us the truth. So it's important to have that shortwave capability. The single sideband transmissions from the ham radio operators and government and military stations would all be on single sideband. There'd be a lot of data transmission, and if you're interested in that, you can get systems that allow you to interconnect a computer to that radio and pick up a lot of the data transmission. Some of that is encrypted, so you won't be able to receive it. But all the ham radio operators that are on the digital modes are not encrypted, and their transmissions and information would be able to be intercepted, and you'd have a readout right on your screen about what's going on with these various ham operators, and and you would know where they're located and what they're talking about and what's happening in their area. Would be so crucial, John, to help people. The worst thing that could happen is the lights are out and you have no idea what's going on anywhere. The lights may still be out somewhat in your community, but if you have battery power, maybe generator backup, solar panel backup, you could use these receivers and or ham radio equipment to find out what's happening elsewhere, and you'd be able to help out your community with that.
Absolutely. Being an asset to your community, it can be very gratifying and a feeling of self-satisfaction because you've done something important. You're doing something that will help neighbors and friends, and it's great. Tom, thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, John. Have a nice weekend.
We got a break. We'll be back with Dr. Linville. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Friday, the 13th day of September. Prepper tip of the day, I want to encourage everybody to make sure everyone on our team has a self-winding wristwatch. These electric watches may not work if there's an EMP. If your telephone doesn't work, well, the clock on that won't work either. Having a wristwatch is very important in a tactical situation so you can all coordinate what you're doing. We have a patient waiting in the green room, my friend Dr. Lynn Wilbert, D.C. Dr. Wilbert is a gentleman who is very knowledgeable about all matters related to health. He's trained other doctors all around the country, and he continues his work along with his passion for golf, and he lives right down the street from his favorite golf course. Good morning, Dr. Wilbert.
Greetings, J.R. Moore. So glad to be here.
Good to have you, sir.
Yes.
Well, we're still in summer. It's 90-degree weather. It's getting a little bit old for many of us. I know. I thought it was finished, and we got more next week, but soon it will be done. And we're already having leaves fall here at my place. But we're going through the season changes coming up, and seasonal changes do have impact on people's lives and their health, doesn't it, sir?
It absolutely does. We live on this planet, and the environment, we affect the environment, and the environment has a direct effect on us. And so even though we're still getting these 90, I think it was 90, 94, 95 yesterday, the temperature gauge in my car said 99 at one time, and it was pretty hot. But if you notice, there was a wind blowing from time to time, and the environment. In fact, I'm going to download an app today that's going to help me track global weather. And as you said, yes, the leaves are falling. I'm paying attention to the tops of the trees. They're already changing colors. And when the leaves on the trees change colors, it's probably two major reasons. One of them being there's not enough sunlight, and they're already preparing for winter and spring. And so with the change of color in the leaves, it causes an increase of acid. We've talked about on previous calls the difference between alkaline and acid. Alkaline good, acid bad. Except for one situation. Most of the people in this country believe that they can have too much acid in their stomach. That is an outright untrue statement.
Well, that's largely due to pharmaceutical products advertised on the television. Is why people believe that, Doctor.
Well, they've been duped. They've been told something that's not true. The stomach has acid that will burn through most things. The issue is when you get food combinations and increased acid in the environment, then it causes your stomach to do something different. And we're going to get to that point because most people don't understand it. But let's take a product called Alka-Seltzer. alka. The first part of that product is alkaline. So you go pop, pop, fizz, oh, what a release it is. And you take the Alka-Seltzer, that should be a hint. The stomach is the most acid environment, period. In order for that to be acid, stomach enzymes, in order for enzymes to work, your stomach has to be in an acid environment. And most of our stomachs were challenged with that. And so when you do the pop, pop, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. A little happy guy with his hat on.
Right.
And, yes, you take that product and you put it in the stomach and you change the environment of the stomach to alkaline. And the brain goes, excuse me? Why are you alkaline? Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you to make more enzymes so that we can change the environment back to as acid as we can get. And then I'm going to tell the stomach to make some more enzymes so you can digest your own food. Alka-Seltzer does nothing but create a disruption in the stomach, and the body goes to emergency. The stomach goes to emergency to get it neutralized because it knows the acid and the alkaline ratio in the stomach should be mostly acid. And then you make enzymes, you digest your own food, and you buy the program again. Oh, that Alka-Seltzer really helped me with my digestion. I don't even have heartburn anymore. Well, why do you have heartburn? Well, let's just look at that. Most people combine, and that's the number one reason why we have colon cancer. It's because of food combination. We combine food improperly. The number one improper food combination in this country is meat and potatoes. Oh, I'm a meat and potatoes man. Look at that belly. That's why.
So educate us here. Why is that a bad combination, doctor? What makes that a bad combination? And I assume you mean they need to be eaten separately, like 2 different meals or a certain time apart? How does that work?
Well, what happens is most of the time, let's just say we're dining in a restaurant, one of our favorite restaurants, and they bring bread and water to the table, and you start munching on bread. Bread is a carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is an easily broken down molecule to extract energy. And so you're sitting there, half a bread or 2, and then next thing that comes along is any kind of protein and maybe a vegetable and a salad. But no, your system is ready to digest carbohydrates, pasta, potatoes, bread, rice. And so here's what I've done before, and if you have any doubts, you can do it. Just take a piece of bread of any kind. It could be whole wheat, it could be white bread, it doesn't matter. Take that bread and make a little small ball and put it in your mouth, and don't chew it. Don't chew it. You don't have to, because the system recognizes that this is an easily extractable energy molecule, and we don't have to work that hard to do it. So in your mouth, there are salivary glands that make ptyalin, and it starts to secrete this enzyme to break down the carbohydrate. And after a minute, 2 or 3, all you have to do is swallow it. You don't have to chew it. So now the mouth and the stomach has been primed for an easily extractable energy from the molecules of bread, refined carbohydrates. And so next here comes the protein. Oh, it's a totally different enzyme. You cannot use starch enzymes to digest protein. However, the body will not switch to protein enzymes. It will not, because that's more work. To break down protein and take it through the Krebs cycle to extract glucose is more work than protein. I mean, more work than carbohydrates. You'll hear the young athletes and maybe some mature athletes, they will do what's called carbo loading before they enter into this athletic competition. Well, they're burning energy. You need energy to perform at that level, whatever level. And so that, in my opinion, is not acceptable either, but that's the common thread, the common trend. That's what people do. It doesn't make it correct. It doesn't make it correct, but that's what most people do. So now you have protein in the stomach, and the stomach's going, no, I want some more carbs. I don't want to work on protein. And so it sits there in the stomach for a little bit, and it doesn't get broken down. And so now the stomach sends the protein to the small intestine. The small intestine goes, excuse me? What do you want me to do with it? You haven't done your job. What am I supposed to do with it? And the small intestine can't send it back. You can't send food back to the stomach. And so the small intestine say, hey, I'm just going to hold on to it for a minute, and I'm going to send it to the large intestine. The large intestine says, are you guys on vacation? Did you not see protein coming through the intestinal tract? What do you want me to do with this? I can't send it back, and I can't send it out because it hasn't been properly broken down. So the colon can't assimilate it. So what happens? You have protein sitting in, who knows how, I used to know exactly how long the large intestine is in humans, but it's long. You can Google it, do the research. It's long, maybe a couple football fields or something like that. And so now this undigested, unprocessed protein is sitting in the colon. Whoa, protein is acid. Acid colon equals colitis. Remember, acid-itis, acid joint arthritis, acid muscles, myositis, acid tendons, tenosynovitis. So any cell in the body can handle acid except the heart, and the stomach is supposed to be the most acid environment in order to digest food that you ingest. And so now the colon is going, I don't know what to do with this. Can't send it back. I can't impact it. I can't extract B12 and other nutrients that I need. So it just sits there. And now you have undigested, fermented, putrefied protein, acid-based, sitting in the colon. And the colon would say, hey, well, we're just going to have to encapsulate it. Put a capsule around it because it can't send it back, can't send it out. That's called a polyp. Polyps are encapsulated, undigested protein that the large intestine can't do anything with. Still, the number one reason for colon cancer in this country, food combinations. And so now you're going, okay, maybe I need something to help me eliminate. But now there's another pharmaceutical product that they get to sell you. So between Alka-Seltzer and stool softeners and all, that is more stuff for your body to deal with. So again, the number one reason why people develop colon issues is because of improper food combining. The second reason is even if you were combining food properly, you went to a state of emotional upsetness while you were ingesting food. Now, when there's a marathon, the Boston Marathon, New York Marathon, I usually watch those because they're intense and there's a lot of psychological as well as physical prowess that happens in those situations. But you never see a marathon runner eat food while they're running.
No, that's not going to happen. No.
No. Now, they will drink liquids of whatever kind to get electrolytes in. Most just drink water. One of my good friends in Phoenix, Arizona, he turned 62 or 3 the other day. Wow. And he's still a marathon runner. He's actually a triathlete. And since college days, that's 40 years plus, he's been a triathlete. And today he's easily in the top 10. In his age group, he's number 1. And a couple of years ago, I went with him to Cozumel and helped him through that triathlete event. And we talked about training and everything. And I watched him. The last leg of the triathlete event is a run. And I was at the first stage of the run and the last stage. And as they transitioned from the bike to the run, they grabbed water. They did not grab food. No. It is impossible to ingest food when the bear is chasing you. Now, some time ago, maybe eons ago, I don't know, we ran because animals were chasing us. We didn't run for sport. We didn't run just because it increases your metabolism, helps you stay trim, and it feels good. No, we ran because the animal, whatever it is, big animal, let's just say it's a bear, was chasing you. And so running from the bear and ingesting anything are opposite nerve system functions, completely opposite. One is you're running. So if you're running, you shunt all the blood from your organs to your muscles. That means the organs don't have blood for right now while you're running. Yes, that's true. That's how you can run. And then when you stop running, you go, but you're not running while you're breathing so hard. Well, the reason for that is when you're running and in a state of emergency, you're not really paying attention to your breath unless you're a trained runner. So if you're a trained runner, you're paying attention to your breath so you can minimize the phenomenon in the body called O2 death, oxygen death. So if you take oxygen out of the blood, when you stop doing whatever you did to take the oxygen out, you have to put it back. So you spend the next 5 or 10 minutes or whatever going, I'm sure tired standing still.
Hold that thought. We got a break. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
All right, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Friday. It's Friday the 13th day of September. My website is thelibertyman.com, and yes, we are going on a cruise. Well, R&R. Even combat troops get a break from combat and go on R&R. This will be on R&R, a romantic cruise. Valentine's Day will be right in the middle of it. Details at my website at thelibertyman.com. We'll be out there in the Caribbean in February. No hurricanes. Hurricane damage will be repaired. Everything will be nice and fresh and new. Get the details there at my website at thelibertyman.com. And join us. Join myself, join Leon Green, possibly Sam Andrews. No commitment yet. We hope to get that soon. If you don't have internet access, you'd like a nice full-color brochure, well, give Betsy Murphy. She's our cruise director. Give Betsy Murphy a call. Her telephone number is 636-530-9502. Doctor, if somebody wants to contact you for some professional advice, how would they do that, sir?
Well, they can contact me at my personal cell, 314-495-6480. And most of the time, I'm either consulting or with clients. So if I don't answer, just leave a message and I'll get back with you. Now, I do want to let everyone know that the initial consultation is at no charge. And the reason why I do initial phone consultations, even if you're local here in St. Louis, we talk on the phone first. And I can tell if I like you on the phone, and you can tell if you like me on the phone. That covers the first obstacle. So when we meet face-to-face, we already know we like each other. Right. Yes, the consultation is at no charge, and feel free to call and ask about any health question that you may have. And if I don't know the answer, I will pretend like I did, and then I'll do some research and get back to you.
Right.
But so far, I've come up with something.
Right.
Oh.
Well, I got a... Okay, that's good, Doctor, and you're easy to get a hold of. And that telephone number, once again, is 314-495-6480. And leave a message if you don't pick up, and you'll get back with them, right?
That's exactly correct, yes. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we got a nice long segment here. Let's move forward, Doctor.
Well, we're talking about the misunderstood process of ingesting food. The number one combination that doesn't work is meat and potatoes. And I just thought of this. I hosted a dinner for some of my clients, and we had grilled chicken, pilaf, salad, and a vegetable and carrot combination. One of my clients, who is diabetic, and she walks by and goes, "Dr. Wilbur, I thought we weren't supposed to be eating meat and starch." I say, "Well, Barbara, that's correct. However, if you choose to, here's how you do it, and this is how I do it. Eat the meat first. Eat the protein." And one of my favorite movies is Coneheads, where the wife says, "Come over and join us for charred mammal flesh."
Uh-huh. All right.
And that's what it is. It's charred mammal flesh of some kind. And if you really do the research and think about it, at one time, man did not eat meat. If you lived on this planet, you didn't eat meat. It was only after a certain time period that we had to eat meat because nothing was growing for 40-plus days. And so we forced our colon to adapt to meat assimilation, digestion, and extraction of minerals. And so if you choose to eat meat and potatoes, eat all of the meat. It doesn't matter if it's chicken, lamb, steak, pork, beef, fish. It doesn't matter. It's protein. And the human body can only adequately, that's a different word, we can efficiently process 46 grams of protein a day. Most people eat that at every meal. 46 grams of protein is about the size of a deck of cards. And you eat that at your last meal with vegetables. My point is, we really don't want to combine starch and meat. Do I eat a sandwich every now and then? Yes, but it's filled with vegetables, and I take the top piece of bread off, which means I'm putting protein in before the bread gets in. That's the way to do it, because now your system is primed for protein breakdown, protein assimilation, protein digestion, protein elimination. And you don't give any thought to that process. It just happens. But you do if you do the reverse. You eat bread and da-da-da, and now your stomach is going, I mean, it's creating this gaseousness.
Hold that thought, Doctor. Hold that thought. We got a break. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the Energy Cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an energy cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms, or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Friday, the 13th day of September. My website is thelibertyman.com. Yes, there's a lot there at my website. You could spend a lot of time there, so take your time. No sense getting in a rush. Just take your time. Look around there, see what's interesting for you, and then just start reading. We have videos and written articles also. Articles I've written, articles written by other individuals. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on with geopolitical matters, just scroll down the left side to the bright red letters where it says Open Source Intelligence, put together by a friend of mine, former counterintelligence agent, and it's a daily update of, typically 25, 30 plus articles from all around the planet. A great way to stay up to date on what's going on. Also, my website, if you have arthritis pain, as I mentioned earlier last hour, a friend of mine at the Legion meeting last night, he came in limping, And I said, man, what happened? Did you drop something on your foot? He says, no, John, I got arthritis in my hip. Well, he needs an energy cleaner. If you have arthritis pain, you need an energy cleaner. If you're not sleeping like I do every night, I sleep like a small child every night. You can also, because I have an energy cleaner, and you can also. $285, shipping included. Keep in mind the following. I offer a 90-day money-back guarantee, so you're risking nothing with the energy cleaner. You're going to want to check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads that go with it, and then go ahead and make your choice. Place your order using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You can do it right there at my website at thelibertyman.com, or you can call my toll-free order line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Visiting with Dr. Lynn Wilbert, and we're talking about health. If you got a question or comment about health, give us a call at 800-313-9443. If you want a private consultation, you want to get started as a client of Dr. Wilbert, give him a call later today, obviously not while the show is going on, at 314-4905-6480. Let's continue, Doctor.
All righty. So a lot of what goes on in this country is smoke and mirrors. What I mean by that is that they'll tell you one thing, present something else, and the conclusion that you come to has nothing to do with the premise that they present. One of those things is the myth of gastrointestinal reflux disease, commonly called GERD, gastrointestinal reflux disease. First of all, there's no such thing as disease. If you believe in disease, you will have one. Disease is merely described like arthritis. That's the body's perfect response to too much acid. You'd rather have your hip hurt than your heart hurt. That's called heart attack. The heart is the only set of cells that cannot withstand an acid environment. I've mentioned before the pH of the blood. For as long as you are alive, the pH of the blood stays 735 to 745. That's a narrow 1/10 range of alkalinity. If it changes to 734 or 746, you have minutes left to live, guaranteed. That's how efficient and sophisticated our pH system is in terms of neutralizing acid. Now, the acid of lifestyle is normal. For instance, every exhalation is CO2 coming out the lungs. Oh, okay. Well, you're getting acid out. When you eliminate waste, urine, bowel, that's acid. Perspiration, acid. So the body has these built-in sophisticated systems to eliminate the acid. We just overload them with acid. The number one producing acid is any, let me say any and all, any less than positive thought about anything. So you combine running with less than positive thinking, and you have acid overload. Period. Well, I don't run. Yes, you do. You run from the bear in your mind. The number one bear in human existence is called SEMO, SEEIMO. And that's what I do. I find SEMO. SEMO produces interference in the signal going from brain to body and body to brain. When there's interference in the signal, it could be a dropped call. It could be your satellite going out. Any interference in the signal is going to have a result that you don't necessarily like. And so SEEIMO, SEEIMO, is subconscious. It's in charge of your immune system and all your body functionings and everything. You don't have to think about processing food. Subconscious emergency. Emergency. We're talking bring out the troops, fire trucks, the militia, everybody. Ambulance, police officers. That's an emergency. It's a national emergency. Now, it's emotionally based. What emotion? Less than positive emotion. Or have someone tsunami on your positive, happy parade, and you let them. If you have a positive feeling and somebody comes along and disrupts that, you can choose to put on your rain gear. In fact, I would suggest never leaving the house without a rain gear, because there could be a pop-up thunderstorm at any moment. So you just pop up your rain gear, galoshes, hip boots, or whatever, your raincoat, and you do not allow that person to rain on your positive parade. But we've learned to allow that to happen. Somebody rain on your happy parade, and you disband and run over to the upset parade as if that made it better. No. The number one asset-producing event in our lives is less than positive emotion. So subconscious emergencies, emotional, imaginary. You're sitting here stressing about something that's happened in the past or something that's going to happen in the future. That's your imagination taking over. So why don't you imagine it the way you would love for it to be, not the way you think it is, not the way you perceive it to be. Imagine it the way you would love for it to be. And guess what? Your subconscious won't know the difference. I know on YouTube that there's a recording of Ella Fitzgerald, who's one of the humans, she's not here anymore, but she's one of the human beings that had a voice that could go to a decibel level, a frequency level, didn't have to be decibel, a frequency level, and the frequency was so high that the molecules of glass, that's what it is, molecules slowed down to form glass, disbanded. So they put in another goblet. The goblet didn't know that we're in a sound booth, and they hit rewind play. They hit rewind play. There was a recording of Ella's voice. Is it live or is it Memorex?
That's right.
Didn't know. Do it 1,000 times, and the goblet will do the same thing, because it's called the law of creation. And so we're part of creation. If you violate the law, you're going to have to endure the consequences. So you've heard things like heartburn. What is that? What is heartburn? Heartburn is merely gas formation in the stomach, and since the heart sits above the diaphragm, the stomach is just below the diaphragm. Here the stomach got this combustible gas formation going on, and the heart goes, get off me. There's a flying, jumping elbow to the stomach. Get off me. I got work to do. Oh, take this for heartburn. It's not true. Anytime you ingest, and I've mentioned this before, medicines only appear to work. And the way they appear to work is that they will create an emergency. They will create a CMO that's a greater CMO than the one you created. And so now your body can't tell you there's an emergency because there's a greater emergency. And all of its attention is directed to getting rid of, controlling, containing that emergency. And you think that the medicine helped you. It did not. It did not. Made you feel better, which is called allopathic medicine, which is what is practiced in this country to make you feel better, and all the while, you're actually getting worse. Ooh, but you feel better. That's smoke and mirrors. So now you take something for gas formation, and you have to deal with that, when you could just simply back off and start eating more vegetables. We are a vegetable, fruit and vegetable person, people, humankind. That's what we're designed to do. We just like the taste of meat. Doesn't really have that much nutrient value in it. The most nutrient value, and again, minerals are more valuable to the body than vitamins or vitamins. If you didn't have minerals, you couldn't use vitamins. So your goal is to put minerals in. The body cannot make minerals. You have to ingest minerals by the way of fruits and vegetables. And since we're in the seasonal transition period, we're reducing how many vegetables we take in. In fact, after this week or next, in this part of the country and north of us, in South, in Florida, California, it's a different story because they grow all year round. So in this part of the country, melons are going to be out of season. So even though you see them, don't eat them because they're out of season. We eat in season. That's another fantastic point that we don't think about. So now that we're transitioning, there's more acid in the air that we're breathing in, and we haven't substantially made a change in our lifestyle in terms of what we eat, the amount of water we drink, which is by rule half your body weight in water, which is really important right now. Most of my clients are dehydrated already, and it's only going to get more. There's leaves all over the golf course now. And I'm going, whoa, this is a little early, isn't it? Yes, but that's what's happening. And so vegetables more now than fruit, because fruits have, and I've had this conversation with many people, well, isn't the orange acid? Well, yes, it is going in. But once the orange gets inside the system, the body goes, hey, there's some minerals. So the breakdown of the orange, which is a fruit, an acid fruit, and you can eat oranges all year round. The best orange I ever ate was a minute off the tree in Arizona into my mouth. Oh, just fantastic. So when the body processes and assimilates the orange, the end result is alkalinity. The end result is minerals. Yes, you need minerals to buffer the acid of lifestyle, to keep the pH of the blood 735 to 745 so you can stay alive. In the meantime, if you're not getting in 75, 80% fruits and vegetables, 25% other things, which I don't recommend dairy, man is the only mammal on the planet that continues to consume the milk of another mammal beyond the weaning age. We're the only species of creation that do that. No other mammal drinks other mammals' milk except man. And we continue to do it. We have a dairy industry. They promote milk. Milk does the body good. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. One of the worst things on the planet is to drink milk unless it's almond milk. Soy milk is, based on my research, soy milk is becoming a little bit of an issue because it's too hormonally sensitive for the human being.
All right. Well, human beings should not consume soy products unless they've been fermented first. That's my understanding, Doctor.
That you're exactly right. And you don't get fermented milk. So
no.
Would be almond milk. The next milk that's closest to mother's milk, which is what's supposed to be happening in your first 8 weeks of life, is mother's milk. The milk closest to that is goat's milk. Goat's milk. And if mothers cannot breastfeed, I recommend this recipe. And I didn't have to do it because, I raised my children based on what I knew and believed. So you take 1/3 reverse osmosis water, 1/3 carrot juice, and 1/3 goat's milk. And you feed that to the child until they're ready to consume vegetables. A squashed up green beans. Vegetables first. Vegetables. No milk. We don't need milk. We're not that kind of individuals. We're mammals, but we only need milk for the first 8 weeks of our life as we're weaning ourselves into full food. So back to this gas formation. You got heartburn, you got indigestion, and why? Food combining or you started running from the bear when you started eating. What's the bear? SEMO. SEMO is subconscious, emergency, emotional, imaginary memory override. So you're in the middle of your meal, and you start to, even if you're by yourself, and you start to relive, is it live or is it Memorex? You start to relive an experience that it makes you feel good. Why didn't it make you feel good? Because you chose to. Since your subconscious doesn't know linear time, it only knows vertical time, so every moment from your conception to your expiration is the same moment for your subconscious, which is in control of your healing, in control of how your body functions. And so you interrupt that. You have an abrupt interrupt of digestion by an imaginary bear. At that point, you get a doggy bag, you wrap it up, and you leave. Rare is the individual that can go off-road to emotional upsetness and snap back instantly with no repercussions. I'm working on that because I know the consequences of emotional upsetness. If you know how devastating the destruction is when you get upset, if you knew, you'd never get upset again. You never allow yourself to do it again. Oh, she or he made me so mad I couldn't see straight. That would be true. If you get upset, you may as well give yourself as a do-it-yourself frontal lobotomy. The front lobe of your brain where you do cognitive reasoning.
Hold that thought, Doctor. Hold that thought. We got a break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Doctor, we've got about 3 minutes here, sir.
All right, well, let's see if we can sum it up in a quick 3 minutes. The reason why we eat food is for fuel. Fuel to repair, replace, rejuvenate the trillions of cells that need that just from living. And so you get the fuel, it's called minerals. So if you have proper oxygen, enough minerals, and glucose, one molecule of glucose with the right alkaline environment, alkaline meaning minerals and oxygen, you make 32 ATPs, which is the fundamental unit of energy that the body and cells need to perform. However, if you have an acid environment, and you're a shallow breather, and sometimes you don't breathe, and you hold shoulders, holding hands with your ears, well, that's an acid environment. You take the same molecule of glucose in an acid environment, and instead of making 32 units of energy, you make 3. That's the difference between a person that goes to bed tired and wake up tired. That's the difference between a person that can go zooming through the day with proper energy and doesn't need a caffeine stimulant or a sugar stimulant to get it done. So the purpose of eating is to provide minerals for repair, rejuvenation, replacement. Now that we're in a cleansing state, you reduce fruit and eat more vegetables to make sure that the environment, the blood environment, your upper respiratory tract, see, when you're cleansing, a cold is upper respiratory and sinuses. But you're cleansing. Which one do you want to do, cleanse or have a cold? Well, I would rather cleanse because it's helped my heart. If you say cold, I caught a cold. I said, no, you don't catch a cold. You created an environment for that situation to exist. If it's in your muscles and joints and you feel all lethargic, that's called flu. Same cleansing, different system. So if you're into cleansing, eliminate fruit because fruits are cleansers. Vegetables are healers. Vegetables are healers. So if you're cleansing on any level, and I've already started detoxing and eating more vegetables in order to keep my system balanced so that my blood can stay 735 to 745 so I can stay alive. It's just that simple. Medicine makes it complicated and have you confused with the gastrointestinal reflux. That there's no such thing as that. That's what they call it. what comes to mind right now is the restless leg syndrome that was invented by a drug representative. Looked around the office in the doctor's office, and everybody's moving their legs for no reason. So that means your leg is running and the rest of you are not. So part of your subconscious is running from the emergency, and you wonder why your blood pressure goes up. So they invented a drug to treat a disease that didn't happen or doesn't exist. If you believe in disease, you will have one. Now, I know what dis-ease is, the body not at ease. There's an increased awareness, which you replace that word with pain. Increased awareness. Pain, no. Increased awareness. Most people don't want pain, but you do want increased awareness.
Doctor, thank you. Thank you. Have you back next Friday. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's it for the day. That's it for the week. Get your medical supplies, your energy cleaner, your essential oils now while you can, your firearms ammunition. Never, ever give up your guns. Please have a fun, safe, productive day and weekend, and God bless America.